And we are a go. So I like to start this way on every episode, good man. Sal Show. This is an honor to have you here, to say the least.
Please, the honor's mine.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not blowing you. This is honestly one of the times you're on the top list of people I wanted to talk to. And I've talked to J.M. DeMatteis. So it's one of those, like, you're on that list.
Thank you very much. I am humbled to be on a list with DeMatteis, man. He is the man. His stories are incredible. He's been there. He's done that. You got to set your sights for people like him, man. I'm in the gutter, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you very much for having me, dude.
Of course. And you do so much for the comic book community, to say the least. Here, I was one of those like, fuck, I gotta have him on the show, and he's the most honest guy I know in comics.
Like, I appreciate that. That does not make me a lot of friends, but I do appreciate it nonetheless. You know, I don't know what we do any more than what you know. I mean, we're trying.
Yeah, it's. I think it's because, you know, one, the honesty factor. I'm an honest guy a lot of times, and you've probably got the same thing too, where it's, you're an asshole, you're a dick, and it's like, oh, you think this is bad? Well, fuck you. And I'm like, no, I'm one of you guys. Don't worry, I'm not a shell. I swear to God.
Yeah. I'll shill. Don't get me wrong. No. I'll take it.
You mean tell me, Warner Brothers, you want to pay me $100,000 a year just to say yes, I like this? No problem.
Yeah, no. I have taken gigs from Warner Brothers before, not but thankfully they weren't opinion based. They were just like, come here, see this, and then go home. And I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, like, okay, no problem. Or like, well, you did stuff for Bloodshot too. You guys were doing promotions, yeah.
Yeah, we what was it? Well, you know, it's funny. The Valiant thing was amazing because, like, when Valiant like kind of became into the forefront back during the previous guard, they were like, nobody else is doing what we're about to do. Like Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, IDW, nobody is going out to the comic book commentary community. Nobody's talking to YouTubers, podcasters, and like getting them involved, bringing them behind the scenes. And that's what normalized our relationship with Valiant. And then when they left, we kind of like assumed that was it. And then the new guard came in. They were like, we want to keep things going with you. And thankfully, they brought in some smart people who worked in either comic book news journalism or worked in the industry in some other capacity. And so they knew us and we were contacts. And so like they were like, hey, you want to keep doing things? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I like what you do. I'll promote the things that I like and I won't talk about the things I don't, you know, like,
yeah.
And that's been where it's been. I got to see Bloodshot and during the pandemic in New York City of all places. Good call. And
yeah, that's really the place you want to go to, Sal. Way to go.
No, I literally, it was during a time when we like the news wasn't quite as like on it. Like, you know, we kind of weren't sure what to believe or what to expect. And so it was like, it was in March and I got on a bus. I went to the train station. I went to the movie theater. You know what I mean? Like I was like, and when I got home, I'm like, what a mistake. But wait, I will say, dug the movie. I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, hey, this is like, I remember like a couple times during that movie being like, this is like a real movie.
I have something I have to admit about Bloodshot. I've talked to the creator of Bloodshot on the show. Yeah. I still have not seen the fucking movie.
You gotta, I mean, like, you know what's funny? Like, wait for it to get cheaper, but like it's a fun movie. Like, you know, and if you're looking for like Valiant Universe stuff, stop. Because it's just Bloodshot, it's just that universe, but like, you know. It's still pretty cool. I'm like, all right, you know, and Vin Diesel's doing his thing. Like, he's doing the Vin Diesel thing. If you were expecting him to, like, do anything other than, you know, a more, like, soft Riddick, then you know, you're in the wrong theater. But,
well, I mean, if you get Vin Diesel, you get Vin Diesel.
That's right. I mean, you know.
It's like Will Smith. You get Will Smith. What else do you want?
Yeah. You don't want Will Smith to act. Like, you don't want, like, well, that's not true. I mean, he's good in, like, The Pursuit of Happiness and, you know, he does acting, but if you want like a movie where he runs and fires a gun, you're only going to get one type of Will Smith.
Yeah, you get the iRobot, which is still, I vote, a good movie.
I've seen iRobot more times than I care to admit, and
yeah,
it was one of the first movies where I was like, hey, Alan Tudyk has some range. That's what I'll give iRobot, is that, hey, Alan Tudyk has range, and then you know you see everything else he's in, and you're like, oh my god, this dude can do it. I embarrassed myself in front of Alan Tudyk. I met him like at I think Denver Comic Con 2 years ago, and I was like, dude, you are like the prettiest Lon Chaney in the world. You can disappear in a role. And he was like, I like that.
I will take that and not pay you any royalties. Fuck you.
No, he's welcome to it. I mean, that's just something some schmo said while he was signing his Firefly poster. So whatever.
It's true. I got told by a fan the other day. They're like, "You make me feel like a 13-year-old again." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna take that and put it in the review stuff." And I may or may
don't tell any adults.
Yeah, exactly. Man.
No, but that's
Also,
cool.
too, with you drinking the Coke Zero, you should fucking have a Coke Zero sponsorship. When I had you on the show, I'm like, come on.
I know, and I don't. You know, it's funny. Like, I just like it. Like, and it's lit. I only drink it because when I was a kid, I grew up on like Coca-Cola products. Whatever, I'd had Pepsi, it'd be like, meh. But I drank a lot of Coke, and I shouldn't have because it's like empty calories and it's all sugar. And at some point or another, I was literally gaining weight just from drinking the amount of copious amounts of sodas that I drank. And I was like, I got to go to diet. I can't. And Diet Coke tastes horrible. Particularly if you're used to Coke, if you're used to Coca-Cola, you drink Diet, you're like, oh no, like it's not even close. And I was like, I'll just condition myself to drink this instead. And then Coke C2 came out, which was like half Coca-Cola, half Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And then like a couple other things. And then Coke Zero came out, and I tried that. I'm like, this tastes like I remember Coke tasting because I haven't had a Coke in like 8 years. So I got into that. It was literally just like, I like drinking a beverage that is fizzy, that tastes kind of like a Coke product from my childhood, that also doesn't have any calories. Like,
yeah, and it's like,
I don't need the help. I eat pizzas. Like, I don't need the help with soda.
Yeah, I can't say anything. Yeah,
I did reach out to Coke, and they said no.
What?
Yeah, on Twitter, there's actually a Twitter conversation still there where I was like, hey, Coke Zero, come on, you guys. At this point, come on, because people were like hyping it up on Twitter, and I was like, I jumped in. I'm like, all right. I mean, like, because I will, like, I'll take it. And Coke Zero itself, like the Twitter account for Coke Zero said, we do not offer sponsorships.
Lies, fucking lies. I've watched most movies in 2020. Thank you. They're in almost every movie. Michael Bay said, "Thank you for the money, Coke," the other day.
Right, and come on, like you'll be amazed, and it's kind of fun. It's like you're part of an exclusive club when you like see a celebrity who's like, I gotta get a Coke Zero, and you're like, I know you drink that because it's literally the same thing. I did a gig for a former president once who only drank Diet Cokes, and so it's like, you know, that Diet Coke is like the thing. Like for celebrities, for like Hollywood, for the Hollywood elite, their beverage of choice is Diet Coke, but you know that they're like, this tastes like battery acid. And then when Coke Zero came out, like, you know, the ones who are like, who did the research, and they were like, I can't drink this shit anymore. And then they were like, ooh, the same great taste with no calories. I'll take it.
And then they give you an orange, and it tastes like a creamsicle. And the Orange Zero's better tasting than the regular Coke Orange.
Yeah, I loved Coke. Man, they screwed up those freestyle machines. I went to the hospital I was born in because it was the only one in the like New Jersey tri-state area that was within driving distance that had one of those Coke freestyle machines because the Coke Orange captivated my imagination. Because I had heard like it got to the point in the UK where Coke Orange was a flavor that they had in like 2-liter bottles and cans. Like you could buy it in the grocery store. And I was like, oh my God, we missed out. And I don't want to go to Georgia to have this shit. But then I found out there's a machine, went down there, and it was everything I thought it could be. And then they made Coke Zero Orange, and I'm like, even better. I can have the same great taste with no calories yet again. And then people started mixing their vanilla and their Coke Orange, and they were like, oh, creamsicle. And then Coke noticed that like the resulting combinations made the Coke Orange syrup stock go down because there was too much of that left over. So they just cut out Coke Orange. And I'm like, I wanted it Coke creamsicle, so to speak, is a sometimes flavor. That's not the only time. I only wanted Coke Orange. I will sometimes dabble in vanilla. But you've completely removed that option. And I got so close to achieving my dream of having like a 12-pack can thing of Coke Orange or Coke Zero Orange, and they skipped it, and now I have Coke Zero Orange Vanilla, and I'm like, you were so close, but you flew too close to the Sun Icarus.
You had it. You tasted glory, and then it
tasted like orange, and now it tastes like candy, and I'm like, damn it. I know this is fascinating. I'm sure your viewers are enjoying this, but like,
we've had weirder conversations. We've had sex stories on the show. You're totally fine.
Right on. I'll spare you those.
Yeah. Okay. Well, never know.
When they happen, weird.
Oh, okay.
No, okay.
I'm like, wait a minute. Compared to both of us here, I'm a single dude, and then you're married, if I remember correctly. Married. Yeah. Like, wait a minute here. Oh man. Well, definitely, it's been interesting though doing our jobs. I think because also too, I want to talk about it because in this timeline. I hate this timeline. I want a Flashpoint because fuck this place.
Yeah,
Over.
It's funny because like I do and don't. It's one of those things where it's like like every movie or comic or story where like a character, like friggin' Endgame, where Tony Stark's like, we could go back in time and stop Thanos from doing the snap, but I have a daughter now, so we have to make sure that everything happened, including all the infidelity and suicides, as long as I get to keep my daughter. And like, let me tell you something. That's like the most realistic thing in that movie is people with children are like, I would burn the world to the ground as long as it preserved my miniature version of myself. And I'm like, right on. But yeah, I understand it now because it's like, this is the worst timeline and I'm doing this in it. And it's like, for a lot of people, I'm sure that's like indicative of the fact that it's the worst timeline. They're like, yeah, you're successful and all this other, and we're on fire. And it's like, yeah, I am moderately successful. Like I get to do this for a living, which means like, I guess it's not all bad. But if I go back and I end up, fixing everything, I know that the one thing that will be fixed is that I don't get to do this anymore.
Oh, really? It's like all of a sudden, like Sal the businessman. He's now working in stocks.
I'm working at Allstate or State Farm.
Allstate or State Farm. You're the State Farm guy. That would be amazing.
I'd be Sal from State Farm and then be replaced by a sexier, younger version of me.
Oh, I feel so bad for that actor.
I know that Jake from State Farm guy. He was like, he's like, our khakis, and then they're like, what if you were sexier and more relevant? And it's like, oh, I guess okay, bye.
Yeah, fuck you and your royalties, Jake.
Yeah. Like, what happened? Did original Jake get too friggin', like, did he get too big for his britches? Like, what happened toward Jake?
He collected, so you find out it's like the one kid from Pawn Stars. He's like a pimp or some shit like that now, and you're like, and he's doing coke. Like, fair enough, understandable.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, that's a nice part about what we do. I think is we are the escapism a little bit because I get tagged in so much shit on Facebook between people, and somebody sent me the thing that really cemented this timeline's bad is that people were protesting in front of a gym. Doing push-ups and squats, about 100 of them in Florida. Like, oh, it's over. It's over. You can't compete. What the hell am I going to do?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we are the ones that are able, and this sounds like we're tooting our own horn, but listen, I mean, if I could reach through, I guess I'd tug the penis according to what people say I do. But, hey, I said this show's uncensored, Sal.
Yeah, that's fair.
We have the ability to give people entertainment still because, it's important. Yeah. Comics are always escapism, and now more than ever, like I cracked open I reread Superman Red Sun the other day,
right,
and totally forgot about everything. I'm like, oh my god, this is true. Comics can be the escapism because they're so needed now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we need the distraction, even ourselves, like even those who provide the distraction. Although, I don't like to toot my own horn too much because, like, for me, it's like I get to talk about the things that people are doing as opposed to like the people who are doing what I want to be doing, or at the very least what I admire most. But in the interim, as they are behind the scenes working on things, like because all the comic book creators that at least working at the big two, are working on books. They're still being paid. They're still working on these comics, and they're just building up like a catalog. They're building up like a backlog of stuff, so that when books come back, boom, it's going to hit the scene and it's going to be huge. So they're working, but like in the meantime, nothing's coming out. As opposed to the thousands upon thousands of hours of TV that you could watch, or all the video games that you have not played yet. And yet I still get people who are like, they're like, I watched a couple of your episodes twice because I just feel like, because I'm looking for something to do. And I'm like, you could listen to me while you work out, or you could play a video game. Like,
either way, you can just do that.
Yeah,
I feel that hard. Exactly. I feel that hard because as I think we talked about in a live stream one of yours is like I'm actually a comic book writer too. So I work for a company.
Yeah.
Indie company SGGS, and people have asked me when the new book's coming out. Like we are doing the same thing Marvel and DC are doing, where it's catalogs.
Right.
And I want to give them books because people like one of them is Giant Monsters meets the Vietnam War. So people want that, and they're like, "Yeah, come on, we need more. I want to escape. I want to read more of your books. I want the toys. I want to play the games you guys got coming out. The video games in development. Like,
yeah,
I wish I could. You wish you kind of feel guilty, like I'm holding on to your happiness, and it's like,
yeah, no, that's where we are. It's yeah, I hear you.
How has it been filming back issues for you guys? Are you still filming any of those? Are you on a catalog? Because
no,
I haven't saw the new episode yet today.
Oh well, it's a doozy. We actually see if you can put yourself in that headspace. The concept is that there's this virus that is the epicenter is in New York City, and everyone's infected, and it's literally
unbelievable, Sal.
Yeah.
Full shit.
It's complete fantasy and fiction, but yeah, it's interesting. It's a Marvel event called Contagion, which nobody read, and I picked it up because I was like, oh, what's this? And then I read it. I'm like, oh, I see. Yeah, I see why nobody read this. But it's just, yeah, that's what came out recently. But in terms of shooting the show, Ben and Ethan live together. Tiffany and I live together. Both Ben and Ethan are in self-isolated quarantine. Tiffany and I are the same. Ethan works from home. And so we kind of like, because I am... We're not necessarily rolling the dice, but we are shooting the shows. Like, we're still shooting the shows, but we are practicing as safely as we possibly can. And the thing is, we're in constant contact, and we keep the group under 5 people, and we're trying to like just kind of do what we can. Because the thing is, like, none of us have risk factors, so it's like if any of us were to get sick, it's 2 weeks in isolation, and then we're back to normal. So we're just kind of like taking it slow, but being as proactive as possible while still maintaining the show. If any one person in the team felt uncomfortable, we would definitely stop. And we have options in place, but there is a steady backlog. Like, we haven't had to shoot a show in a while because we shot like 5. Like,
oh Jesus!
I have at least 3 left before we have to shoot another episode. So we kind of like stagger it a little bit.
Makes sense. That's a good way to do it, though, because I've thought about it watching last week's. Like, wait, how the fuck are they doing this? And also, I'm not going to look at the comments because it's going to be people like, you should be practicing this. You should be doing social. Like,
initially, it started with that. The first episode, when New Jersey, let's say, had the first like major quarantine, we had like 4 or 5 people. When I say a lot, it's like not a lot at all. Like, anytime we get like a detractor or a comment like that, I say it's a lot, but it's like it's a lot if it's more than 1. Like, for me,
yeah.
And it's usually like 4. If it's 4, that's like that's a torrent of negativity. But yeah, that's we got quite a bit of that where they're like, way to practice social distancing, you guys. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm doing that when I'm protecting I'm staying isolated. I don't go to the store. I don't visit my parents. I don't do this, that, and the other thing. Like, everything's being shipped in, and like we go to my office and we shoot, and then everybody goes home. But like, if Ethan or Ben interacted with their parents, it wouldn't happen. If their parents were in the area, we wouldn't be doing it. Tiffany, same deal, and it just wouldn't be happening. So we just kind of keep it, we keep it contained, so to speak.
Yeah. That's the best way to do it. And, if you're doing it, because also, too, you don't want to get arrested. You don't want to pull an Elon Musk, apparently, lately today. Like, if anybody's arrested, it is me.
What a hero.
Yeah. Hero. Hero. You can't fucking name your kid right, but it's fine,
Exactly. Dude, don't get the virus and infect your family, but whatever.
Exactly.
I hear you.
Well, I'm curious about something, Sal. Is that you guys get shit all the time, like by fans, by like people working comics. You guys get so much merch. I know the camera wasn't working, so you can't see my home studio. It's full of like pops. It's got like figures and everything like that. McFarlane, by the way, I love their DC line. I don't know why. They're amazing.
Great. It's a breath of fresh air. I've just been like waiting for good DC figures because you look at whenever I'm in a Target, Walmart, and I look in as a kid, I always went to a department store. In my world, it was like Bradley's or Kmart. Yeah. And I'd go and look at these go to the toy aisle and look at like everything I wanted to buy, and maybe my mom would help me out. But it's a compulsion that I still feel to this day as an adult, where I will, if I go to any department store, I will also go to the toy aisle and just look at what's available.
Oh, yes.
The Marvel Legends figures, I'm like, these are so cool. And I can never bring myself to buy one because I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Like, where's it going to go? But the DC line had been, because it was, I think, Mattel originally. I was looking at those figures and I'm like, I don't want any of these. Like, I don't want this. They look so stiff and crappy. But with the McFarlane figures, they're just so sleek and sexy and cool. I'm just like, I bought one. I bought the Hellbat figure.
Oh, you did? Oh,
I did. And I've been hunting for him. Like every couple of weeks before the pandemic, I would go to the store and they would have 1,000 of those Detective Comics 1000 action Batman figures. And I'm like, no. And then maybe one Harley Quinn, and I'm like, this doesn't look any more distinct than any other Harley Quinn figure. And then I'd leave. And then when I come back, like maybe there'd be a Nightwing. And I'm like, oh, we're getting closer. And then eventually there was one Hellbat, grabbed it, because it's like $20. And I'm like, that's $1 or more less than the Marvel Legends figures.
Yes. Oh yeah. And there's I want more of the McFarlane toys.
And you're getting more. Let me tell you, he has at least 2 more waves coming out. We're gonna get like a White Knight Batman, White Knight Joker.
Yeah.
Like we're getting a bunch of cool shit. And if McFarlane has his druthers, if these figures sell, he's gonna make He's gonna make like McFarlane Batman with like the huge cape, like like blue and gray colors. Like that Hellbat figure is huge. I have the NECA Ninja Turtles figures from the movie. And he is just shredding them. It's literally all 4 of them, like in this diorama I built in the office of just the Hellbat armor, Batman like fighting all the Ninja Turtles, and it's really cool.
That is amazing. McFarlane's doing the shit right, but
doing it forever.
God, yeah. You got to interview him the other day, and I listened to that. And I'm like, yes, it sounds amazing. I'm kind of jealous for one.
That was a bucket list amazing. I as a kid, I would have punched myself in the nards to get that opportunity. It was he was exactly what I expected. You know what I mean? Like having watched interviews, watched the shows, read his editorials back in Wizard Magazine. Like I had a feeling I knew what I was in for, and I was not disappointed. He was a class act the whole way through.
Love it. I love it. McFarlane, if you're listening, you can come on the show anytime.
Oh, right. Yeah.
hey. Yeah, I was wondering, is there something you guys really enjoy the most out of the collection here? Because like I have one sent to me from one of my guests from the Spider-Man PS4 game, actually. Nice. Was the Mr. Negative pop figure signed by Stephen O'Young, who played Mr. Negative, and he sent a little note with it. The most iconic thing I have, the best thing I have now. I have I literally have fossils when I worked in paleontology in my workshop right now.
That's dope.
And that's mine. But do you guys have something maybe a fan sent you all, or is it something maybe
my work here is made up of a lot of that, actually. We've been sent things for at least 5 years by the incredibly generous members of our community who have sent us anything from boxed toys. We have pretty much like the first entire wave of the Batman animated series figures from just one person. Like, and that's notwithstanding the original art we've gotten. There's a beautiful portrait of like me as Spider-Man and Tiffany as Doctor Strange that we have up here. Yeah. Up in the corner, we have Tiffany and I did this like long Marvel DC event crossover like pitch session, and we had 5 different potential catalyst events that everybody kind of like voted on for which one should be the main thing. And then we created a whole bunch of spin-off books that all came out of the time from which it was made. I think it was like 2014. So it's like very, very distinct. And one incredibly talented member drew the cover for the first issue of the spin-off book of Flash versus Ghost Rider, where it's like it's New 52 Barry versus Robbie Ray as Ghost Rider. And it's like print ready, and it's original pencils and stuff that's up on the wall. Like, original art is incredible. The letters we've received have been funny to heartbreaking, and those are always like, we keep all of them. They're all in a box that I keep. I haven't looked through them in a while, but like they are very important to us. Anything from the fan community is like kept and put someplace on a wall or a shelf, because like we have a lot of space in this studio, surprisingly enough. So that's really awesome. Anything that's like action figure wise, I try to put up on a shelf or a wall so you can see it. But yeah, there's so much that it's hard to like distill into one thing that I even like hold up amongst the others. Like we have, as my tastes have changed and my opportunities have grown. When I go to cons, I like to get everything signed. Anything that like means anything to me. If it's like a particularly bad book from the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly show we do, or a back issues that we've done, or even something that like I love or that I've had as a kid, and I find out a creator is going to be there, I get them to sign it. And so I have like this, but it's become a thing where originally it went up on a shelf. But I ran out of shelf space, and now I have like a short box just full of like really cool signed stuff, you know. And like I got the entire run of The Cult signed by Jim Starlin and Bernie Wrightson, and it's like that's really cool. Like that, it's just something where I'm like, that's really cool. I have no McFarlane signature.
Are you shitting me?
Literally had him on the show, and I've never gotten him. Well, he does this raffle, and whenever he does a major show, like he does a raffle where it's like you got to reach out to him early, and you got to go to his booth and get this. And I once got to New York Comic Con before it opened, and they were like, "We're out of tickets," and I'm like, "Okay, this is horse shit." But yeah, like but I never gotten it. And I you know, if I get something signed, I want it like signed by him in an interaction, which is why when he did the Kickstarter, I only did the classic Spawn figure. He's doing this Kickstarter where it's like it's over now and it's fully funded. I think he wanted like $200,000 and he got $2.8 million. No,
he wanted $100,000 because I fucking went in and I bought my own. I'm like, oh god, do I do it? And then the government's like, here's some $1,200.
Yeah,
fuck yeah, all right, doing it now, $40. Yeah, like that. Oh,
that was me. I bought the classic figure, and but I was like, I could get the signature. I could finally get it, and I'm like, it's gonna be on a little card. Like, and I don't. You know, no. If I want a signature, I'll hopefully one day meet him and get him to sign my Spawn or my Batman Spawn or something like that.
That's it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I got the same shit. I have a little box full of because I ran out of room. Yeah, you know, you can only have so much room in a workshop, and you just want to get the signatures. And you're absolutely right. If you don't have that little interaction, then what's the fucking point?
That's exactly right. Well, the only ones that I actually even care to get that like, if I'm gonna get a signature on a book that is from a person that I'm not going to meet, they better be dead. Oh, you know, like that's like that's like like I would love to have a Kirby signature.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, and I don't, and and personally, I don't even care if I didn't meet him or not. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I never did. I could have 1,000 times because obviously he was in New York and I was in New Jersey, and if I had been in any way plugged into the convention circuit at any point, I guarantee you I would have met him at some point. Missed out on that opportunity. Darwin Cook's another one I would have absolutely been happy to get. And don't care if like I missed it. I'd still pay for that. Like I'd still go get that. You know, but like I'm not gonna pay for a Bendis signature. I'm not gonna pay for a Frank Miller signature. I got those in person. I'm good. Like
yeah, it's like, well, you got that, but man, I miss Comic Cons. I'm gonna be honest here. You know, it's. You guys got the best fucking one. I'm here in Phoenix, and they can't even get their name straight anymore. So I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I love Comic-Cons, and it's gotten to the point where you have options now. Like you could go like, oh, let's not go to that Comic-Con. Let's go to this Comic-Con. I was really hyped. There was one in June that was coming up called the East Coast Comic-Con. Everyone was going to be there. It was like it's a small show in the middle of like. I don't know, like Montclair or something like that, but or Newark. But it's like, it's a great show, and it's funny. Like I go because I want to meet people. Like I want to meet the list, right? There's like always like a few people on that list where I'm like, ooh, that person's gonna be there. I gotta see them, or like, ooh, I know them. I'll go say hi. But you know what? I always end up invariably. Like the most fun is interacting with people who actually know who we are. When someone's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like, thank you so much for saying hello. Like that, and that's always. I could go to shows where like I don't even buy anything, and if I get to meet somebody who's actually watched the show, like that's more important to me than anything. Which is pretty much why I'm like missing conventions, because like if there's a person I want to meet at a convention, at this point I'll just invite them to be on the show.
Yeah, that's true. You can do that now, and you know what else they got to do? Jack shit.
Well, I've had a few passes. Like I've had a few people feel like I have nothing to do, and I'm still not going to go on your show. Yeah, yeah. So I have a great respect for people who actually are willing to do it.
It's true.
It's like wow.
They sit there and there's been a couple, and I remember the one because I do a film show podcast too because I work in film, so I'm like, why not do a podcast on it, right? You know, writer in film, costume director, guy, actor, all that sort of shit. So I do that, and I'm like, oh, no, I have one on there. The one I've had so many celebrities on there, but the one they said no on. They thought about it and they said no was Peter Cullen.
Oh, what?
Fuck! Childhood. Fucking hell. I was so done. I was just so bummed for a whole day. They're like, what happened? He said no.
Optimus Prime said no.
Yeah. It's like, but I've had on 3 other Transformers actors between the cartoons and the movies. And so I'm thinking to myself, is this deliberate? Am I that much of an asshole?
Yeah, does he know? Man. Yeah, who else? Did you get Frank Welker?
Not yet.
You got to get Frank Welker.
Not yet. I mean, shit, I've had Sideswipe on. Though I have had the guy who does the retro. He does like the classic 80s Megatron where they do all the new cartoons with him on.
Smooth?
No, it's Jason Marnoka.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, he does that. And man, I've had Godzilla suit actors on and shit like that too. Cool. I mean, come on. Peter Cullen, why?
Yeah. Did he say why, or was it just like, nah?
Just like, nah. Yeah, I know that hits right in the childhood.
I got that from John Byrne. John Byrne.
Really?
Was like, it was very respectful, but it was very much a like, it was like, hey, with all due respect, I'm gonna have to pass on that. And I was like, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, but it still sucks. You're still like, okay, respectful. And then like when you put the phone down, Tiffany, I'm hurt.
Yeah, that sucks. It was just kind of like, oh well, like I don't need to have every person whose book I've ever read be on my show. Like
exactly.
I don't need that. But when it does happen, it's even more the special.
Exactly. Oh yeah. One thing I do remember lately is you talked about like fans recognizing you. I'm curious on what your fan interaction is, like the funniest one, because I had a fan, I was getting Whataburger down here because, and they're like, oh, it's him. And I heard him say it, and I'm just getting food for my family and say it, and they're like, it's him, it's Dakota. And I'm like, am I about to be jumped? Is an X about to pop out around the corner? What's going on? And they're like, here's some merchandise, and here's a little bit of free food because we love your shows. And we've seen your movies. And so like, here, take this, and we love your books. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. I'm like, wait, this is not a prank? No, we love your shit. Like, hey, we're a big fan. And they're like handshaking, photos, all that sort of jazz. Threw me off when I went back to my family. I'm like, you're not going to believe what the hell happened.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that to happen in front of my parents. That's when they'll finally understand what I do.
Yeah. They never will. Sal, let me tell you, no one in the family will ever understand. I think my sister does because she's a big comics fan. And she's like, that's awesome, but your parents will never understand.
No one in my family will get it. Which is fine. Like, I don't need the respect or love. But no, the experience that I've had, pretty much every fan interaction that we've had, and I hesitate to call them fans because, like, I hate to I don't want to acknowledge that, like that idea. Like, I kind of don't.
Family.
Yeah, it's more. Well, it's the audience. Like when the audience watches, or when I run into them, they're always super real, like, and super respectful. Usually it's very like, hey, it's you. Like, not like, hey, it's you, but more like, hey, we know each other. Like, it's that kind of interaction where it's like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, I've had people like walk up to me, like sidle up to me and be like, yeah, we get it. I'm like, right on. Like, thanks a lot.
Head nod. Like,
There's two that stand out to me. Like I've had unbelievably sweet, kind, like, magnanimous responses to people, like in person. I ran into one dude at the mall. Like, he was just like, hey, I watch you on YouTube. What are you doing here? And I'm like, this is my mall. I go here. And he's like,
I'm
that's
human.
Nuts. Yeah. I'm like, did you know I lived around the corner? Like that. But
this is like, well, that's kind of weird now, buddy. You broke the line.
Yeah, no, he was totally cool. I was more like me. I'm like, where are we going? Where are we shopping? We gonna go to JCPenney? He's like, so
Nope.
But I've had two interactions with viewers that stand out to me. One time, I had it last New York Comic Con. I think it was last. New York Comic Con's my favorite show, not just because of like the access and the ability, and like that was my first show, and just how massive it is, and how you basically just like it's like comic Christmas, where it's 4 days of just like but also like we run into a larger collection of the audience that way, and I see a lot of the familiar faces nowadays where I'm like, hey, it's you, like, and that's always amazing. And I'm coming and it's a reminder of like where you are, because like we had this experience where like we had a meet and greet, and we ran into like a dozen amazing people who were all like really sweet, and they're giving me books, and like just I want you to have this, and I'm like, you keep this, you own this, like I'll go buy it.
This is I'm a fellow fan. I have money. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, but it's such a sweet gesture, and I'll always take it. But like we'll have that, and then for whatever reason, I was separated from the group. Like they were just like, I'm gonna go here, and I'm all by myself, and I go over to like to a dollar bin area, and this guy who's significantly older than me, comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, you're Sal," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "I fucking hate you," and I'm like,
Really?
and I go, "Well, of course you do." Like,
I hate myself. Way to go.
right. Yeah, of course you do. And he goes, "You said this thing on this other podcast one time about how Stan Lee such and such," and it was like such a gross misunderstanding of something that I like. I'm like, it couldn't. It's like he said. It's like he thought I said Stan Lee was a hack, and I may have said that like as a joke or in a where it's like I'm like, no, Stan Lee was a huckster. Like he was like a guy who was like a hustler. He sells.
Yeah.
Like he created, the foundation for modern superheroes, and also was a salesman and a carnival barker. And like, you don't divorce the difference between those two things. Like he's not a god. He's just a cool, funny guy who was shameless in his self-promotion. But like in any case, he obviously couldn't like parse the understanding of like how it's like, no, just because I said that doesn't mean I don't respect him. Actually, I respect him more. Like,
Like,
but
hold on here.
he was like, he's like, you said something about Stan Lee on the show, and like it must have been like multiple years prior that I said this, because I couldn't remember it, and it took me a couple days to like put it together. I'm like, I think he might. I'm like, in that regard, I must have said this. I don't know. I still for the life of me don't know what episode it was, like on what show. But he said like on someone else's show you said this, and I want you to know that like you're wrong, and you're wrong about like everything. And I was like, I'm like, well, I can't argue with that, man. Like, thanks a lot for watching. Like, and you could see like his wife was like 8 long boxes away, like just utterly mortified. Because and I put it all together where it's like clearly he saw me, because like it was like Sunday, it was like towards the end of the show, like there's nobody there, and like you could see he saw me and he's like, that's him, that's the guy who fucking said something that stuck in my craw for 3 years and I'm still thinking about it, I'm gonna go say something. And she's like, don't bother this human being. And he's like, no, I'm gonna fucking do it, I'm gonna do it. And then like he happened to create a situation where we both bumped into each other, and then he had an opportunity to say something, and I was like, it was so memorable because I'm like, no one's ever come up to me, I don't think, outside of a high school or college setting and called me an asshole. Like,
really?
They did for a long time, but not because of something I did. Usually it was unprovoked, or usually came out of nowhere. Like I had a lot of that in high school and college, but like, not professionally, I guess, which was hilarious. I was like, this is amazing. Like, thank you for this memorable experience. Now get fucked. And
yeah, it's like, oh, thanks for reminding me of high school. Fuck you.
Right, exactly. I literally but I was not like, I was super nice to him, and I engaged him, and I asked him like, well, if you think this, what about this? Like, because I went to the Dan Slott school of like dealing with trolls. Like Dan Slott is a really interesting. He's probably since abandoned it, but like, where if he has an interaction with a fan who like sits in line and like waits an hour just to be like, okay, I'm here, I fucking hate you and everything you've done, and here's why you suck. He's usually like, oh well, like let me ask you a question. Like, what about this? Or like, what's something you do like? And then tries to like bond with them on some other like level, and then throws them like a spoiler about the upcoming thing, and that usually comes like brings them around. And I'm like, that's a really brilliant tactic. He told me that during an interview back when we were not Comic Pop at Baltimore Comic Con in like 2006. And I never forgot. I was like, Tom Brevoort was right next to him, and he's like, Dan's like telling spoilers. He was like, Dan, stop.
You're giving away trade secrets, Stan.
Yeah,
no,
stop.
Like, what are you doing?
Stop talking about it. But I tried to approach it from that perspective. On the inverse of that, a way better interaction was one time, again at New York Comic Con, but 2 years ago now. We're walking off the main floor. We're heading to lunch. We're about to leave for lunch, and we're walking through this crowd, and this dude, who looks like he's like late 20s, he's got like a leather jacket. He looks like cool. Like just he looks what my brain says is what cool looks like.
I think of 90s leather jacket dude right now, like Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he looks cool. Like he's got black hair, he's youthful, he's clearly fit, he's got boots, and he's just cool looking. And he goes, "Hey." And I assume Ben bumped into him or something, but instead he's like, "It's you." And I'm like, here's where I'm gonna get my ass kicked.
Right in front of all these people.
He's gonna beat the hell out of me in front of Sam Keith's booth. And so he goes, "It's you," and it's Lee fucking Bermejo. And he's like, and he goes, "You guys made that video about Batman Damned. It was when Batman Damned had been pulled because of the Batwang." Yeah. And he was like, "You fucking get it." Like, you people spent an hour talking about like why they fucked up and why this is great, and like about art, and he just goes into this whole thing about like revealing that Lee Bermejo watched our Comic Line episode about Batman Damned, the episode with the puppet in it. There's like a scene we open up with like Tiffany's like puppet avatar like reading Batman Damned, and I'm like, and that's when I realized like, oh my god, he got to the puppet and he's like, I'm gonna keep watching. But then he turns to my wife and he goes, especially you, like you made some great points about art and about European like style and stuff like that. But like it goes from scary aggressive to like completely super friendly, and like I'm going from, oh my god, I'm gonna get my ass kicked by this really cool guy, like warranted, I'm totally gonna like thank this guy later, to Lee Bermejo has watched one of my videos and agreed with me. And like that was an unbelievable interaction that like came out of freaking nowhere. And I was like, wow, like thanks, man. He's like, yeah, I gotta. And it's like he had people, like he had like an entourage, and they're like, what are you doing, man? Like, don't talk to these people. We have to get to a friggin' thing. We gotta go to a panel or something. And he's like, no. Let me tell these people. They made a cool video with puppets in it.
That's a story you will tell grandchildren.
And they'll be like, who the fuck is that?
Wait, what's comics? You guys used to read those in person, not online? What?
Yeah. Not in hollow form? That was when you had to imagine being in the comic as opposed to being doppeled into them.
Exactly.
Mentally.
It was pre-COVID times. Like, back when you could see people.
Yeah, how many people were there? Yeah.
100? There's more than 100?
That's impossible.
Yeah, who would have thought? There was one Comic-Con story I'm never gonna forget, and we're gonna have comic fans like, what the hell? But I felt so bad for a guest at a comic convention once.
I've had many a time where I like see them and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's like I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name, but Punisher was here.
Tom Jane?
Yes, he. Oh no, the Punisher actor was here. I'm drawing.
John Bernthal?
John Bernthal. There we go. He had a huge line. Right next to him, who had nobody, it looked really sad. Foggy Nelson.
Oh,
and I'm like, Shy. I told my sister, I'm like, Cheyenne, we have to go. It's Foggy. Come on.
He was so good. Like he was definitive Foggy Nelson. I'm like, you fucking nailed it.
Yes, and we told him that, and he had nobody, and there's nobody getting in line, and we go over there, and he's like, he looks up from his phone, and he's just like, hi guys, how's it going? You know, John Barthol's right over there. I'm like, no, we're here to see you.
Yeah.
Like, really? And I'm like, yeah, like, dude, where the fuck's your people? He's like, I don't know. You go tell John to stop fucking being an asshole and not hoarding them all.
Yeah.
It was the best. And we took a selfie and everything, man.
That's
awesome. It was the best.
I would love to meet anybody from the Daredevil show, man. Everybody, well, any of those Netflix shows, but particularly Daredevil and Punisher, everybody was so good in that. Like,
yes.
And somebody mentioned, I remember, like, I have a friend who like works with celebrities in some capacity, and she was like, "You want to meet Charlie Cox?" And I'm like, "I don't want to bother Charlie Cox," but like now I would be like, "Yes, I would have I should have met Charlie Cox." Like,
can we sit down for an interview? Like 2 minutes, please.
The funny thing for me, it's like I don't want to bother actors because like I love what they do, but like. They don't like, you know, they're like, well, do you read Daredevil? Like, not really. Like, did you have fun playing Daredevil? Kinda. You know, like that. Yeah. For me, that's the whole conversation. Like, I want them to sign my poster. I want to tell them they did a great job. But like, as far as an interview is concerned, like, I don't have as many questions for actors as I do for like the people who tell them what to do.
Yeah.
The only difference is like, I would like to talk to like Clancy Brown or something.
Oh my God. No,
people who really like, you know, who've been there.
You could have ear orgasms. Just re-listen. That's the one time I'd re-listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Well, with that though, I gotta say, I gotta vouch for this though. Working in film and whatnot, and as an actor,
yeah,
I've interviewed a lot of people. Well, I say interview, but it makes me feel weird. I've had a lot of people on as guests,
right,
that have played comic book characters before or worked in the filmmaking process and whatnot. The thing that I would tell you is to do a little bit of research on them and find out about them, because there's a lot of them where maybe they didn't read the comics, but they love the media.
Right.
And so that's how we bond and whatnot. We do all this sort of stuff on there. Like, I've had the guy who played the Shocker in the Spider-Man PS4 game on. He's a good friend of mine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's cool. He's like, I love playing the Shocker. He's like, out of all the Spider-Man villains, Shocker is now my favorite. I'm like, that is now on record. You know that, right?
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, so you just never know, man. Like, it's... Yeah. Do the research a little bit on there, I think, would probably be a little bit helpful on that.
I agree. Yeah.
Because you never know what people maybe it's just me vouching for actors. I don't know.
That's true. Like, yeah, well, and it's just like I've watched many an actor interview, and like they're fascinating, but like they would have to be suited for that, you know. Like I know I could talk to a comic book writer for like an hour. I know I could talk to even comic book artists. For me, I'm like, I love what you do, but like, you know, what's your process? You know, for me, I'm like, I don't have as much insight. I don't have as much you know, to plumb the depths to really make a fascinating conversation for artists as much as like writers, directors, that kind of thing. But you know, I mean, I'll take it. You know, I'll make it work. But
yeah, that's it. Like, we'll I'm a professional, Sal, professional man. All right, I've done this for many years. We can do this, right? Yeah.
Like, if Deborah Ann Wool wants to come on the show, like, I will talk to her for an hour, and it will be fun. Like, I'll figure it out.
I'm trying to get her on the show. I'm talking to her agents right now. I might have to edit this out. All right, shit. Yeah,
but she's so great.
Oh God, yeah. We could just talk about D&D. To be honest with you, like, huge D&D fan.
Yeah, what happened with that show? She was on like what was it? There was like a D&D show that she was on.
Was
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's shit. Fans, help us.
Yeah, I don't recall what it's called, but there was like a weird, like, I don't know, type of like highly produced YouTube series where she and a bunch of other people, like, they had like this rotating cast of like talent, and they played like kind of D&D. I think it was for Geek and Sundry, but I don't know. I can't speak to that. But
yeah, well, Geek and Sundry I think is the Critical Role crew. I think.
No, Critical Role's separate. I think. Yeah. Critical Role's their own guys. Geek and Sundry is like Will Wheaton and Felicia.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's gonna kill me all damn day now. Thanks, Sal.
I'm sorry.
Shit.
Yeah.
One of them though is I want to vouch is David Harewood. Had him on the show recently, and let me tell you, it was fun as hell to talk about gaming with David Harewood from Supergirl. That was who knew we were gonna talk about Xbox v PlayStation, right? We were like, which one's better? And it's like, no, fuck you. Fuck you. It's like this whole thing on there. It's like, oh. And Greg Grunberg talked to him recently.
Nice. Not
on the show, but on the film show.
Yeah.
You would, Sal, reach out, get him on the show. You two would hit it off perfectly.
All right.
Yeah. It's just saying. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, I'm down.
So we're coming near the end of the show here, man, because I don't take too much of your time because you're getting busy and whatnot.
Take your time, yeah.
I have to put it out there. I know fans have been saying this too to you. You are the number one guy I want to write a Spider-Man story.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. I feel like I'm a little too close to it, but like what's funny is it came up not too long ago on social media. For those who are not familiar, I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite character.
Best Kingpin impression, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yes, man. Yeah. D'Onofrio's another one I'd put on the show in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. I was so shameless with that. I made a video for Spider-Man Homecoming where I'm like, I know the movie's shot, put him in the post-credit scene, just get it done. And made a video, put it out there, tried to create a hashtag to get it rolling. It just didn't work. But like, even still, I was like, please
let it happen.
Please put him in there. Hey, if Marvel can't do it, maybe because it's a Sony property, it doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, I love doing that impression. But but Spider-Man is like a character that like I closely identified with as a kid and as an adult, and I love that character. But like as a kid, I never really had a lot of stories like in my head for Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. I read them, I didn't write them, and like I could come up with some stories off the top of my head, or I could take a story that like they wrote and be like, man, if you had done this, that would have been pretty cool, and gone another direction. But I never had like an organic Spider-Man story. I had one pitch in college, and it was like a one shot, like a half a one shot, back when they were doing like those annual stories where it's like a 3-pager, which was, and it was just because I was so separated from the comic book industry. I just thought it'd be kind of funny. And it's just like an idea about like retiring a classic Spider-Man villain. But it was like, it's so lame. Like in retrospect, I'm like, that sucks. Like no one would like that. It reminds me, there was this weird like backup Spider-Man story where like they introduced this character who's like, the idea is that like in Manhattan, there's a bunch of like utility workers who are assigned superheroes to clean up after. And one of them Spider-Man. And he's like, he hates Spider-Man because he leaves the most garbage.
Oh.
And he assembled a suit out of discarded villain gear. So he's like a hodgepodge of every Spider-Man villain. And he's like, one day I'm going to put this on and fight Spider-Man. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
You're never going to happen. Sorry.
Number 1, no one cares about that. Number 2, that sucks. Number 3, this was boring. Number 4, how the hell did you get away with this? Like, none of this is good. But yeah, so I didn't want to be in that position where I was like, here's a stupid story about robbing a bank. But what's funny is now that I have like friends in the industry, not that I'm going to leverage them into a career. It's more like I want to give them work and I want to see them on it. So it's like there's a dude, Victor Bogdanovic, who's drawing Wolverine, and he drew my first book, Garth Kirby and the Book of the Gods, which you can pick up on Comixology.
Little plug right there, little fast plug.
Yeah, $3. But Victor is like, he's so great, and between Garth and Wolverine, like he has grown by leaps and bounds. He's only gotten better. He will be a household name one day. But I would love to do a like in canon story with Victor. And I had this thought when people were asking me about Spider-Man. They were like, hey, because I think I took to Twitter and I was like, what's a character you think that I would be really good at? Because that was like, for me, I was like, I run into so many people in the industry. Like I need to have all the pitches in my head just in case anything ever comes up, or I'm like, here you go. Here's my pitch. Here's my thing. So I came up, so I like, they threw all these characters and I'm like, oh, really them? And sure enough, I was like, oh, there's an idea. So I wrote them all down, and people, more often than not were like Spider-Man. And I'm like, I don't have anything for Spider-Man. Like I'm too afraid and I'm too close to it. Like for me, it's like, I would want to be the guy to be like, Spider-Man goes on vacation and has a wonderful time.
And then they're like, fuck you, Sal.
Yeah, they're like, well, that's not interesting. And it's like, yeah, well, if I made it interesting, you'd hate me because like you think you're him and you want to live vicariously through him.
Yeah.
But like you also don't want to be bored, and so that's boring. But I did come up with an angle, just kind of out of nowhere, where I was like, oh, it'd be interesting if Spencer did this. He's not going to do that. Like, oh, and then that morphed into something else. And I think it came from like a real life story about like a relationship. And I was like, that's something. And I wound up like actually putting together a real Spider-Man pitch for like an arc. Like I could do like 4 issues, maybe 6. Like I could do an arc that me and Victor would do, where it's like, here's your Spider-Man story. And it's like, I think if I told that, it's like when Jim Zub got to do like his one Conan story before, like in Savage Sword, before he got like he was just like, here's Conan the Gambler, here's my story about Spider-Man and Mary Jane, blah. Like, and I think it checks all the boxes for what people who know anything about me would expect me to talk about, but it's also something you wouldn't expect because it's like not, it's not something I've ever talked about. So it's like, it handles that. It also has like the Peter Parker element and the Spider-Man element. I think it works. I do have a Spider-Man pitch for you. I'm not going to tell it right now, but I do have it like written down.
Save it. Yeah.
Rest assured, I do have one. And I would like to do it. But I'm not like, I don't feel it like it. So which means it's clearly not ready. Like I don't feel the compulsion to like leverage everything I've gained over the last 6 years and try and barter it to get that story done. But like, because I'm having too much fun doing this right now. Like would I like to write comic books? Sure. Like, but I would rather make videos about comics, and I'd rather hang out with my friends and just have fun. This has been like the biggest reward for me, and comics have given it to me. But do I have a couple of stories? Sure. But like, do I want to trade this for that? Like, definitely not. Like, but I would like to take that opportunity if it's ever arise. Like, if it ever comes up, I'm like, here's my Spider-Man story. Here you go. Like, run it through the meat grinder, throw it back at me, tell me how much it sucks, and then I'll fix it up. But I think I have a Spider-Man pitch, and I would like to do it. But I don't know but I think the problem is, and I think that's like part of what Dan Slott ran into, was like, I have, like, Dan Slott probably had like 4 really solid Spider-Man stories. And they were like, okay, we'll keep doing it. And he was so afraid to lose it on the off chance that like he would want it back one day that he just never left. And I'd be really afraid if like, I have no reason to suspect that it would ever do well. Nor do I have any reason to suspect that I would be given it. But since it was broached, and it's like people saying, I would love to see Silent Spider-Man. And there's like 2 of you. And I do appreciate it. But the fact that like you guys want that, like, let me tell you, I could probably tell 1, but you don't want me on a monthly, because I would have to really dig deep to keep telling Spider-Man stories. Like, I would have to like, I would only want to do like original graphic novels or self-contained 3 story arcs, like 3 issues. But if I was like on it for a year, I think you would hate me. Like, I would be the next Dan Slott, where it's like, you overstayed your welcome. by a lot. Like, you just didn't do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was wrong, as it turns out. Like, no, you might want me on like some other story. Like, I could probably do Punisher for a year. Like, I could probably do
Punisher though, out of all of them, like,
well, just in general, like, just because, like, you know what? I don't love him. I dig it. I get it. And there's enough like out there to use, because Punisher is very much like a
asshole.
well, he's a critique. Like, he's a,
yes,
he's a you know, he's a critique of the ineffectual nature of the police system, the justice system, the legal system, you know, the mental health system. Like, he is in defiance of everything that is structured in order. And it's like, that's an interesting angle. Like, if you take Punisher, and like, I could tell that story. Like, are there things that are broken in this world that I think Punisher or Frank would have an opinion about or would have a bullet for? Like, yeah, and that would be a story. Like, I could probably just be like, oh, I got something, or because literally it's like Law and Order, where it's like, what happened today? Well, here's a Frank story about that. Like, you know,
yeah.
Whereas with Spider-Man, it's like, what is the foundation of your morality have to say this week? You know, it's like, I don't fucking know. Like, you know, and I would
maybe taxes or some shit. I don't
know. I would never want to tell a story like that. I would just be like, oh, like, you know, I guess he'll fight Shocker. Like, you know, like, well, I don't know. Plus, like, the thing about it, well, yeah. Plus, I don't want to make anything, you know, like, there's a real incentive nowadays to create more, to add to, as opposed to use what's pre-existing and make new or improve or remind you of. Yeah. And I'm not interested in adding to the Spider-Man mythos. Like, I think it's already crowded. And
it's got a lot to it.
Yeah.
Well, how many years? I mean,
80 almost.
80 fucking hell.
So 60, 70, 80, 90.
Yeah, and it's already got a lot of good. It's got some bad. We'll put it as that. Thanks, Gwen Stacy.
Like, for the most part, like, the good you remember and the bad you don't, or it's so bad you remember and it's become a joke, you know.
Yeah, since past.
Yeah, since past, Clone Saga, you know, but there are a couple of blemishes in there. I mean, like, I'm one of the only people who says, like, Skin Deep sucks. Like, does anybody remember Skin Deep? Like, you know, but it's just because it was in this, like, this really, really solid run, and then it was like, since past, Skin Deep, the other. I'm like, these are not good. Like, but there's all this other good in here. So I remember it, but like, for the most part, like, most people are probably like, the other. What was that again? Oh yeah, that's right. He died, I guess. Like, what? You know, like, the bad is so forgettable that, like, it's just not part of the canon, culturally speaking. So, you know, and that's the sad part. Like, that, for me, what I'd hate to do is, like, do a story and be forgotten, or for it to be like just left. You know,
that's the sad part. Yeah, like, people like, it was good, and then 5 years from now, who are you again?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't. For me, it's like, if I wrote Spider-Man and I wrote a story that was solid, but like nobody remembered it 10 years later, I'd be like, well, it's still there.
Yeah.
Well, my name's still on it.
It's on Comixology. It's over here. I swear to God. Like,
yeah.
I wrote for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Hold on. Look at that crazy old man over there. He says he wrote Spider-Man at some point.
Exactly.
Here's your number 5, you asshole.
Yeah. There's Comic-Cons full of those people. But you know what? They got to write that character. Like, they got to do that. They got to be part of the, like, mythology that'll be around long after we're gone.
Exactly.
So that's pretty.
I think the beauty of Spider-Man, though, is you and I both know you can get away with anything.
Yeah, pretty much. You can do anything. I used to think there were rules, but Spider-Verse has taught me that there aren't.
No. Like, you can do an energy vampire, because why not?
You could do multiple energy vampire stories.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the fact is, and then it's funny because, you know, you say, like, oh, Morlun, like, is kind of you fucked up Spider-Man with this Morlun character. And it's like, well, really, he's fought vampires before. And if you were to tell me that this street level superhero is, you know, so relatable and real. What about that time he came to Earth with an alien costume that got mad at him and then fought him countless times in the 90s? Like, Venom is, in and of itself, like, ooh, like, yeah, like an evil, irresponsible version of Spider-Man, like, who came from beyond the stars. Like, that when you speak of it objectively, like, Venom's kind of a departure in its own way. I mean, when you think about, like, the X-Men, or when anybody talks about like the deeper meaning of the X-Men, it's like, oh, these people are the disaffected, the marginalized, people who need to social justice warriors in their own regard. But then it's like, yeah, they also have a spaceship and they fight like empires, and they like
Aliens,
one of them is one of them is a space god, like, and it's like
possessed, mind you, too, by
right, like, well, and friggin' like Kurt Busiek himself wrote a letter to the X-Men when he was a fan and was like, you fucked up everything, like, this is bullshit, like, the X-Men aren't about going into space. And it's like, it's one of the most recognizable images in the X-Men mythos is the Phoenix. And it's like, when you talk about like these people, it's like, yeah, they're an allegory for homosexuality in America. And it's like, what about the space bird? What does the space bird have to do with that? Like with Spider-Man, it's like, oh, it's about being like being a nebbish 20-something in Manhattan. And it's like, what is the evil space shadow character who drools and has a long tongue and wants to eat his brains have to say about that? It's like, okay, right on. I guess you could do pretty much anything with Spider-Man.
yeah, it's just like, well, you can do time travel a little bit here. You can do. Green Goblin fucks his girlfriend. You never know. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would not do that one necessarily, but like that's the thing is that you could put Spider-Man in space, you could put him in the lowest depths of the oceans, you could put him in alternate realities or in the Old West, as long as you're using Peter Parker, as long as you're not betraying, like as long as while he's up in space or under the sea, he's worried about his job interview, or Aunt May, or Mary Jane, or how he promised Flash he'd help him move. Like as long as you don't betray who Peter Parker is, you can put Spider-Man anywhere.
Yeah, you can.
But like I think we got too far with the energy vampires.
Fuck.
That's the other thing.
That's where you drew the line, Sal, out of everything?
Because Morlun, like they didn't explore that. Like it was only about the energy vampires. It was only about Morlun. Morlun did not it's not like Peter thought that Morlun couldn't smell him out of the costume, went on his job interview, and then Morlun showed up and attacked. Or like he missed Mary Jane's performance on Off-Broadway because he was too busy fighting Morlun. Like there was nothing Peter Parker about those interactions. It was all Spider-Man. And it's like, if you only do 100% Spider-Man, you're going to lose it. Like, one of my first Spider-Man stories that I ever read was the second part of a weird 2-part Jerry Conway written, Sal Buscema drawn Puma story.
Oh shit!
In which Spider-Man, in which Thomas Fireheart and Peter Parker go and have like a spirit quest, and their animal avatars attack each other, and then they fight to the death in the Arizona heat. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And it has nothing but Mary Jane is at home, and there's this actor guy who wants to bang her, and that's the grounded part of the story. And it's like, if it was just Spider-Man fighting Puma for 22 pages, it'd be like, nah. But there's also this other element of like, is Mary Jane going to cheat on Peter?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, like that. You need that other element. Otherwise, it's just energy vampires and bullshit.
Which I hope to God never happens, is that Mary Jane cheats on Peter. As far as I remember, that never happened.
It did not. It did not happen. I mean, like, unless you don't consider One More Day canon, in which case she has definitely been with other people. Oh. But so is he. So, whatever.
True. That's true.
But like, the thing is, like, Mary Jane, they have trading cards of her. There are not many trading cards of civilians in the Marvel Universe. There's no Willie Lumpkin trading card. But
no Foggy Nelson trading card, going back.
Although I would say there should be. But like,
yeah.
But Marvel recognizes the inherent value of those characters and the like integrity that is associated with characters like Mary Jane, regardless of how like writers at that time or in those periods felt about them.
Yeah, they're not trying to split them up. That was the big thing. Like,
oh yeah, well, especially in the '90s, like you would back then you were just like, man, they're going through a really rough time. But like if you knew that like writers were complaining endlessly to their editors about trying to end this, you'd be like, oh, I see it. Like you can see those moments where they're like, how about this? How about this? And it's like, what's amazing about that is also I love how it doesn't work. Like each time that someone tries to throw a monkey wrench in the relationship, it makes it more interesting, but makes it more satisfying that it doesn't work.
Exactly. The best couple in the Marvel Universe, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I would love to see more double dates. Like, I would love to see Pete and Mary Jane out with, like, Reed and Sue. Because, like, I like Reed and Sue. I think they're a little misunderstood. I think it's an easy read if you're like, oh, he's abusive. But, like, I think it's I think their relationship is like one of the first, it's one of the first Marvel relationships, and and because of their tether, like Spider-Man's intrinsic connection to the Fantastic Four, I'd like to see more of that, like more true interactions. Like Peter and Mary Jane don't have a lot of friends. They used to.
Yeah, that's true.
They used to, but like a lot of people, when they get older, they start to lose them, and it's like, I'd like to see, like, you could argue why Mary Jane is going to the Baxter Building. Like, you could have a scene where like Reed, Sue, Pete, and Mary Jane like go to the Negative Zone, like, or go, like to Paris and like,
different planet or something.
Yeah,
like
go to
that.
another planet. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Like, and for the life of me, I don't think there's ever been like a really good double date with Reed and Sue. They've done like Johnny and stuff, but they've never really done Reed and Sue. And I think Pete and Reed are more equals than Pete and Johnny. So I'd like to see.
Yeah. That. Review read. We're coming near the end here, I swear. But
I know.
I'm from Chicago. My goodbyes are like 40 minutes long. Have you currently read the Fantastic Four series? The ongoing Fantastic Four series?
I read the first few issues and I dropped it like a hot potato. I was like, this
really?
is so... I found it so boring, I just couldn't read anymore. Plus, like, I had Zdarsky doing Marvel 2-in-1, so I know better. Like, I was given a baller Fantastic Four book, and then they were like, and how about this? Where the artists don't know how to draw Reed in a beard. And I'm like, yeah, it was just, for me, I was like, this is so boring. Like, that's the thing. I wanted to support it because I had been one of the most vocal people, like, in the YouTube comic book landscape, where I'm like, bring back this book. Like, bring back Fantastic Four. To hell with what Fox wants to do. What are you doing? Then they did, and I thought Dan Slott would be a good fit for them, but like not so much.
I want to vouch for it and say they changed their origins recently. Like in the past few issues, you actually not really changed, but they added to it.
Right. They usually
go to the different planet, figure out why they got their powers. All this. I don't want to spoil anything, but
for sure,
honestly, they really hit it. I think they really hit, like, Johnny fall in love, because Johnny's like myself, just fucking fall in love with that woman apparently.
Right.
And, and that's like, well, she said we're love mates. We're gonna get married, right? Like, Johnny, hold the phone.
And
they're even saying,
in the line there, Johnny.
Yeah, and they fucking ring him. They even give him the 2-in-1. I don't even know. They punch him in the face with words, basically, of, Johnny, you've said this about every fucking person of powers who flirts with you and says you're the one.
How's your scroll baby doing, Johnny? Like, why don't you chill out?
You checked in recently on that one? Yeah, I would say go for that, because in the recent ones, because with how they actually hit upon, it's really good. The beginning ones, I can see why you dropped off.
Yeah.
But the current ones recently, the past couple months, I want to say, the Reed and Sue relationship is so good.
They're cool.
Like, yeah, it's perfect. I love it with it's what you want.
Yeah, I'll check that out, because like I've not heard anything about it. I heard when Dan got like dropped Iron Man, like, they were like, Dan Slott off Iron Man, and like the overwhelming consensus was like, good.
Yeah. Finally, it happened.
Oh, and it was literally like, good, or only Iron Man.
Can we add more to this list here?
Like, can you stop doing Fantastic Four as well? And I'm like, oh, like, because he's a good writer. Like, I feel bad for Slott, because like, if his problem was he was born in the wrong decade. Like, he would be like a Roger Stern if they would just, if he only had to deal with the letters that went into The Office. Like, you know what I mean? But like, living in the Twitter world and being opinionated and wanting to share his opinion and his feelings, and like, and having that be connected to his books, really just made it so that he was just constantly inundated with vitriol. Like, and I think it really influenced his work. Like, I love early Slott, but like the later Slott, the Slott that joined Twitter, I feel like he's reacting too quickly in real time to the influences of the culture. Like, if he could just work in a vacuum, I think everyone would be doing better. But I hear Fantastic Four is good from you, so I'll check it out. Like, I'll check out the latter arc and see how we're doing.
You can email me and say, fuck you, this was trash. I don't mind.
Oh yeah, well, I just won't. Like, like, if I don't like it, I'll just keep it to myself, or I'll do a show about it. But like,
it's a whole Elseworlds just on that.
It's been like, what is wrong with this book?
Yeah, Dakota Morgan, this asshole decided to send it out to me.
I try not to do that. Like, back issues is where I'll be like, this book is ridiculous. Here's why. I don't want to dedicate an entire Elseworlds book to be like, Dan Slott's bad. Like, that. Yeah. Number one, I don't believe that. Number two, like, it's just inappropriate. Yes, like, it is. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Like,
I'm with you. We're doing the Kevin Smith thing. where
Right.
we just don't talk about it. He talked about it recently. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I just don't ever talk about the things I don't like.
Right.
That's just it. And he's like, yeah, that's what I do, and it's the perfect way to go about it. I'm like, fuck. All right, I guess doing the Kevin Smith thing is the way to go about it.
Yeah, that's right. His approach is very interesting. Like, and very telling for where he is, like in his head, in his heart. Like, which I'm like, good for him. I'm glad he's in a place of zen and happiness.
Yeah. Well, Sal, good man. I don't want to take too much more of your time here. So, where can people find you on social media?
They can go to twitter.com/salsayswhat. They can join the Facebook group, facebook.com/comicpopofficial. They can go to the Discord. Every link for everything that we do and make is available in the description of every video over on youtube.com/comicpop.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
yeah.
It's right now, I gotta say, back issues. I mean, you're in tough competition because you got Critical Role on YouTube.
Yes.
And that's when I'm like Back Issues is the top 3 shows. Like,
I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, though. I got to thank Maine and Mike because I discovered you guys through them years ago when you were on their show. And I'm like, what is this show?
Yeah,
okay.
man.
Oh, Comic Pop.
Yeah, Mike and Ming are great. I loved I Sell Comics. I don't know if they're ever making that show anymore, but I was on a recent episode of it recently. Like I was.
You were.
Yeah,
right.
I was like, hey guys, we should do another show. They're like, okay.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
They might be coming on to the show here. I got to schedule all that sort of jazz, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But
when the pandemic lifts, they're coming to the studio and we'll have everything.
Yes,
which I'm really excited for.
So 50 years.
Like,
now.
Yeah, because you got to go. Like, if you've never been, like, they have Mike and Ming have this amazing thing called a shared universe podcast studio where, like, if you want to get into podcasting, like, you go to their studio, you rent it out, and, like, they'll give you all the equipment. You can make, like, a high quality, like, excellent sounding show, through them when it opens again. But,
Yet another reason why it sucks to live in Phoenix, away from everything.
I know, man. Well, Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, I've heard of it at least. Like, it's a place. It's a destination spot.
Yeah,
I assume
right
there's
now.
a Phoenix Comic-Con. Not now, but like usually.
Yeah, usually there's some stuff in there. If you don't, the best way to describe this town though is if you ever remember King of the Hill, Hank and Peggy and Bobby went to Phoenix. You ever seen that clip?
I think so. It's like living on the surface of the sun.
Yeah, this is a monument to man's sins. It's like, yeah, 120 degrees, which it almost is. It's about over 100 now, I think. So,
no thanks. You can always get warmer. You can't cool, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
no,
it's true.
I think it's like 40 degrees here, so it's like
the fuck.
I would love. We need to just even it out, just push them together. I'll take the 60, you take the 60, we'll just split the difference. Like,
I'll take that because my day job right now, because obviously film and comics aren't paying that much at the moment, is a job at the Phoenix Zoo, which I've been doing for a couple of years.
God, that must smell amazing over there.
Yep. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let me tell you, there's more craziness that can happen there. You can turn into a TV show. Yeah, that I won't say on record now thinking about it because a lot of people at that place listen to the show, and I'm definitely going to get so much in trouble. Let me just say, rhinos are really fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Rhinos are amazing. It's like a living dinosaur.
Exactly. The moment you realize like life is really a lot more is when you witness it tear steel up like tissue paper.
Right.
And you're like, my life's been a lie. I don't know. What am I doing? Like, oh my God, this is the closest I'm getting to Godzilla.
Yeah.
Find me.
Right, it's alive right there. Like
yeah,
something that doesn't look like me.
I should be running because the guns are coming out. They're gonna trank it. I should go.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true. I'm addicted to the show The Zoo over on Animal Planet.
Yeah,
it's a docu-series that like it's a seasonal documentary type series that focuses on the behind the scenes of the Bronx Zoo. And it's a great show. It's really fun. It's very sad most of the time, but it's a really, really cool show. I love the zoo. Like, and that's all thanks to Tiffany. Her connection with the Bronx Zoo is like what brought me into that. And man, zoos are zoos are cool. That's the headline for this episode.
Yeah, the whole episode. Wait, well, who's your guest? Nope, just zoos are cool.
Yeah, zoos are cool, and this guy who has nothing to do with them said that. Like,
exactly.
That's cool, man. That's a really neat job. Like I dig it. Good for you.
Thank you, man. Well, we're gonna end up recording here, and so because we're gonna keep going on, we're just like, oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Well, thanks, Sal, for coming on, and
thank you for having me, man.
Of course, and to all the comic fans out there, stay classy, fellow comic fans, and.